let's troubleshoot a formula for ranged if-then data. The user provided this. I'm trying to create a formula that will give me a result that identifies the developmental age range based on a raw assessment score. I need the cell to give me a result of 3 to 4 years, 5 to 6 years, 7 to 8 years, based on a score that is given. Their formula they tried at the bottom is if B3 is greater than or equal to 9, output 3 to 4 years, which works. They say they need other parameters in the formula and don't know how to add them without breaking the formula. Let's take a look. So, here in my spreadsheet, I've created some sample data, along with the user's formula and some alternate formulas. Starting with their formula, if A3, I've just moved it over a column, is greater than or equal to 9, output 3 to 4 years. The natural expansion of this is a chain of if functions, where each subsequent if function is the value if false, or the false evaluation of the previous if function. So if A4 is greater than or equal to 9, do 3 to 4 years. Otherwise, if A4 is greater than or equal to 15, do this. Otherwise, if A4 is greater than or equal to 20, do this. At the end, if that's also false, don't do anything, which would be if it's lower than 9, which we could have checked at the beginning, but it works here for the illustration. So 3 if functions, and then basically it's one if function for each condition. Now, there's a newer function, the ifs function, that does the same thing in one function. So we check the condition and the value, then the second condition and the second value, the third condition and the third value, and you can just keep extending this. So if you're going to go the if direction, use ifs, not a chain of ifs. Not a chain of if functions. Let me say that clearly. Another version that was suggested is the switch function. The nice thing about the switch function is you only declare the expression or the cell that you're referencing once right here at the beginning. And then you just provide as many cases and values as you have. The difficulty is that switch does not accept ranges. We cannot say A6 is my expression and the case is 9 to 14. You cannot do that. So we have to provide discrete values, discrete cases. I like switch a lot when I'm dealing with text. I do not like switch when I'm dealing with ranges of numbers. Especially, I don't know, can the assessment score be 9.4? I have no idea. Switch would fail miserably there. So I would not use switch in this case, but it does have value, especially if you're dealing with text as your cases. How I would approach this is a lookup table, where I have the lookup value on the left and the result on the right, and then I can reference this table with either the VLOOKUP or the XLOOKUP function. I'm going to delete this row just so I can illustrate a point on there as well. So VLOOKUP is the old wonderful lookup function that's been a staple for honestly decades. It's pre-Sheets, pre-Excel, it's back Lotus 1, 2, 3, and it just keeps persisting through because it's so useful. It says look for this value in the left column of this range and output whatever index column we say. So in this case, I'm only doing 2 columns. So this says look in column I and return something from the second column. Since it is a sorted range, it says in which case the closest match for search key will be returned. So let me show you an example. Here's the number 10, same as we did here. So the formula is going to look down column I and say 1 is smaller than 10, look for the next value. 9 is smaller than 10, look for the next value. 15 is larger than 10, go back. So it's going to return the largest value smaller than the search key, and then the corresponding value from column J. Recently, the XLOOKUP function was introduced, which does everything VLOOKUP can, but gives us some extra parameters that we can mess with if we need to adjust things. So it's a lot more, It's a little bit more complex, but it's a lot more customizable. So in here, I say my search key is F3. Now what I get to provide instead of a single range for everything is a lookup range, column I, and a result range, column J. And then I specify the match mode. So here, 0 would be an exact match, 1 would be an exact match or the next value that is larger, so that's opposite what we're looking for. It would say, hey, I'm looking for something, the smallest value larger than what I'm looking up. And -1 does the same thing as VLOOKUP sorted, the smallest, the largest value smaller than what we're looking up. And then you can also mess with the missing value, the search mode, where it goes top to bottom, bottom to top. But just to recreate this, all I need to provide is the search key, lookup range, result range, and the match mode. One thing nice about both of these methods, VLOOKUP or XLOOKUP as well, is I can add to or change the range outside of the function, and it will update inside the function because it's referencing the range. So let's say that we add 22 as an assessment age or an assessment range. So this will be 20 to 21 as 7 to 8, and then 22 or higher as 9 to 10 years. And that immediately updates on both the VLOOKUP and the XLOOKUP versions. I don't need to go into the formulas to change them. So if I were approaching this problem, it seems perfect fit for a lookup table using either VLOOKUP or XLOOKUP. Anymore, I personally would use the XLOOKUP. It's newer, it has more features, and more people are looking at XLOOKUP instead of VLOOKUP. But VLOOKUP still works just fine if that's the direction you want to go. But I absolutely would not be using if, multiple ifs, the ifs function, and certainly not the switch function.